The largest shark alive in our oceans today is the whale shark, a 5 to 9 meter long gentle giant that filters plankton across tropical and temperate waters the world over. It is the product of hundreds of millions of years of evolution, a recent addition to a lineage that has seen bizarre bottom dwellers, speedy pursuit hunters, and some of the most gargantuan leviathans the oceans have ever seen. As massive and as spectacular as some of today's modern sharks are, even the colossal whale shark would have been dwarfed by the largest shark to ever patrol the oceans, Otodus Megalodon. You'll likely already be at least vaguely familiar with the subject of today's video. Megalodon is a newfound star of the prehistoric world, an oceanic predator that has graced television shows, movies, books, and internet myths. In recent years, this extinct shark has been the subject of cryptid hoaxes, leading many to believe that this apex predator still exists at the bottom of the seas. Today, however, we will be coming face to face with the real Megalodon, one of the most fascinating and awe-inspiring marine predators of all time. Join us as we dive into the coastal waters of the Pliocene to reveal the truth behind Otodus Megalodon, the prehistoric shark that owned the entire ocean. Megalodon is an extinct lamniform shark. This group, commonly known as mackerel sharks, is a widespread order in the modern day, with some of the most famous fish in the ocean falling under the banner. Great white, megamouth, goblin, thresher, mako, basking, and sand tiger sharks can all proudly call themselves lamniforms. Otodus Megalodon, commonly referred to only by its specific name, is the largest known lamniform, but is only known from partial and fragmentary remains. To this day, scientists aren't sure exactly how big this shark could grow, and have had to estimate based on the remains we do have. Modern estimates place Megalodon as growing anywhere between 10 and 20 meters in length, with 20 being a rare maximum size that only certain specimens could attain. Either way, this was a giant, and it only takes one look at the fossilized jaws of Megalodon to see that, capable of fitting an entire human inside them with room left over. This was a shark that was built for a firm spot at the top of the ecosystem, acting as an apex predator in the seas it lived in. Due to the fragmentary nature of Megalodon's remains, scientists cannot be entirely certain on exactly what this animal might have looked like. Most depictions show Megalodon as a supersized great white shark, and while this is a possibility given the fact that great whites are indeed lamniforms, the order is very diverse, and any number of features could have been different. Modern depictions of Megalodon have taken this into account, sometimes showing a blunt-snouted animal with a broad, barrel-shaped body that tapers off into a huge tail. Megalodon's teeth are what we associate most closely with this shark, each of which were large, robust, and equipped for crushing bone. Like all sharks, it would have continuously lost and replaced old teeth throughout its life, many of which have fossilized after falling to the ocean floor to be discovered several million years later by humans as they washed up on the beaches. Megalodon fossils have been found across the world, from deposits as young as the Pliocene and as old as the late Miocene, spanning from roughly 23 to 3.5 million years ago. Fossil hotspots are typically focused around the coastlines of North America and Western Europe, but remains of this shark have been found on every continent except Antarctica. It was an extremely successful species throughout the course of its time on Earth, and appeared at a time when large prey items in the oceans were becoming abundant. This may be a factor contributing to how it was able to attain such a large size. It is also thought to have been able to regulate its own body temperature, allowing it to evolve an increased metabolic rate and maintain an efficient swimming speed. You may have noticed that we have been occasionally referring to Megalodon as Otodus Megalodon. Otodus is the generic name given to Megalodon's genus. It's what Tyrannosaurus is to Tyrannosaurus rex, while Megalodon is the specific name given to the shark's individual species. Species of shark in the genus Otodus first evolved in the late Cretaceous, meaning that they would have coexisted with the huge marine reptiles of the Mesozoic seas, if only for 1 million years or so. Like modern lamniform sharks, Otodus in itself was a remarkably diverse genus, and had members that are thought to have resembled anything from modern great whites to smaller, speedier forms akin to threshers or makos. Megalodon wasn't always a member of the genus Otodus, and has relatively recently been reclassified from the genus Carcharocles. Even earlier, it was known as Carcharodon megalodon, classified in the very same genus as the modern great white shark. Now, Otodus is the accepted classification for the genus, but the shark is almost exclusively referred to by its scientific name Megalodon outside of scientific contexts. Megalodon's history in a human context dates back further than you might expect. It is not just the early and modern scientists that discovered, collected, and appreciated the teeth of this prehistoric shark, but ancient cultures from the annals of human history. Many Native American cultures picked up and utilized the fossilized teeth of this great shark when combing the shorelines for resources. Megalodon teeth were crafted into intricate jewelry by the peoples of prehistoric Panama, and the Algonquin peoples actively mined and traded them amongst other cultures. Certain groups of ancient humans adorned their dead with fossilized megalodon teeth as part of a funerary rite, and some even utilized them as tools, making the most of their serrated edges to tip their spears and cut their food. It is not known whether or not these ancient peoples knew exactly what they were looking at when collecting the teeth of these prehistoric sharks, or if they simply appreciated them for their unique appearance. It seems sensible to assume that they did not recognize them as the preserved teeth of long-extinct sharks, however. Megalodon's teeth first appear in writing from Roman author Pliny the Elder, one of the world's first known naturalists. While he was able to recognize that they were indeed biological remains, he described them as petrified tongues of humans that fell to Earth during lunar eclipses. Medieval Europeans would later write of the healing properties of these reported tongue stones, noting their supposed power to cure people of poisoning whilst continuing to use them in their jewelry. It is thought that Megalodon's teeth were first recognized as belonging to a shark in around 1616, when Fabio Colonna, an Italian naturalist, compared them to those of a great white shark in an illustration. He actively rejected the idea that these were petrified tongues, and demonstrated concrete evidence of this by noting the presence of carbon and not just stone in their structure. Still, the wider population rejected his theory, arguing that this could not be true as some megalodon teeth have been found inland where a shark could not possibly reach. This was later resolved by Danish naturalist Niels Steensen, who attributed the inland megalodon teeth to a period of widespread flooding that dragged them away from the sea, before they were covered with layers of sediment over time. Megalodon was first formally described by science in 1833, when Swiss naturalist Louis Agassiz named the shark Carcharius megalodon in his 10-year project Recherches sur les poissons fossiles. Megalodon can be translated from ancient Greek to simply read big tooth, a fitting name for a shark of its size. Paleontologists over the following years have attempted to reconstruct Megalodon accurately, something which has proven hard to do as it has been difficult to determine where exactly on the lamniform family tree Megalodon sits, given the fact that the shark is primarily known from just its teeth and jaws. As of today, the shark is a member of the family Otodontidae, a family of lamniforms colloquially known as megatooth sharks. This family contains several other genera outside of Otodus, including Megalolamna, Cretalamna, and Canolamna. The great white shark, on the other hand, while still a lamniform, is not a member of the family Otodontidae, but sits within the family Lamnidae. It is firmly accepted that Otodus megalodon, in the vast majority of the waters it lived in, was an apex predator, unlike many modern sharks that tend to take prey opportunistically. This was an active pursuit predator that relied upon its strong swimming speed and immense size to bring down prey items as large as and including whales. In fact, there wasn't much that would not have been on the menu for this immense shark. Cetaceans would have made up a substantial portion of its diet, and across the seas it would have encountered them in large numbers and varieties. Everything from small, agile dolphins to massive, filter-feeding baleen whales would have been at risk when Megalodon was on the prowl, and some excavations have shown direct evidence of this. Chewed, mangled remains of large whales that were half-eaten by Megalodon have been found in close proximity to the shark's preserved teeth. Megalodon was a messy yet calculated hunter that would have exhibited great power in bringing down its prey, utilizing a number of different hunting tactics. Whereas a great white shark will typically swim below its prey, looking for shadows on the surface that resemble seals or sea lions before ambushing from the depths, Megalodon is thought to have taken a more direct approach. Using its speed and size, the shark probably launched itself into the flank of its prey, teeth first, aiming for the heart and lungs. By cutting off vital organs, a gory scene of blood would erupt into the water as the victim's bones were smashed through, inflicting a quick, yet nonetheless painful death. This is thought to have been a strategy for taking down large prey items such as baleen whales. Smaller animals such as dolphins and fish may simply have been chomped at or eaten whole. Despite this, there is some evidence to suggest that certain whales were attacked from below when targeted by Megalodon. With a burst of speed, the shark could attack large prey items by repeatedly ramming into their undersides, stunning them and breaking bones. When targeting more dangerous prey, such as sperm whales and sharks, there is evidence to suggest that Megalodon aimed for the head, so as to disable any defensive biting during the hunt, ending it as quickly as possible. As even larger baleen whales evolved in the Pliocene, Megalodon seems to have adapted its hunting strategies by biting off fins and tail flukes, rendering the whale motionless to avoid escape. This brutal yet intelligent hunting strategy saw Megalodon effectively rule the oceans throughout the course of its time on Earth. Although, as we will see later in this video, there was occasionally some competition. Not only was Megalodon massive, but like modern sharks, it was also long-lived, something that scientists have been able to calculate by studying the growth rings on its rarely preserved vertebral column. One shark found in Belgium was believed to have been around 46 years old when it died. It was around 2 meters long when it was born and grew at a rate of 16 centimeters per year, almost twice the rate of a modern great white shark. When the shark died, it was thought to measure about 16 meters in length. For reference, the largest known great white shark is an individual known as Deep Blue and is estimated to be roughly 6 meters in length. Lamniform sharks are all live bearers. They do not lay eggs like modern sharks, but have their young develop inside the females who give birth in nurseries, sanctuaries where the baby sharks can grow and develop free from predators. Megalodon was likely no exception. In fact, Megalodon nurseries have been identified in Panama, Maryland, Florida, and the Cayman Islands, where large quantities of teeth from young megalodon individuals have been discovered. These communal nurseries would have been thick with undersea vegetation and hiding places, as baby megalodon, while still sizable, were vulnerable to predatory whales and other sharks. Here they lived in relative safety, preying upon smaller marine mammals, turtles, and fish, honing their hunting skills for when they would eventually take to deeper waters to feed on the ocean's largest animals. Megalodon is ultimately believed to have become extinct as a result of climate change towards the end of the Pliocene epoch, when changes in the Central American Seaway and Tethys Ocean caused water to cool globally. This slowed down the movement of the water in the Gulf Stream, stopping water that was rich in nutrients from reaching many of the locales Megalodon called home. As the world cooled, the polar ice caps grew and further contributed to the decline of temperate coastal environments, giving way to the rise of the Pleistocene. Whales, with their thick layers of blubber, were able to adapt to this change effectively. But a shark as large as Megalodon was in real danger, equipped with only scales and skin. As the water cooled, Megalodon's nursery sites also disappeared, meaning that fewer and fewer sharks survived into adulthood. Sharks that did reach an older age simply could not retain enough heat to combat the cold, and many succumbed to a new, ice-capped world. Megalodon's widespread range and varied habitat preference throughout its lifespan allowed it to become the top predator in almost every ocean on planet Earth. While it rarely ventured any further north than Denmark and any further south than New Zealand's North Island, it was quite comfortable in a vast range of waters, and as such would have been able to hunt huge varieties of prey. If time travel were possible, a diver's best chance at spotting a young or subadult megalodon would be to traverse the coastal regions of the Atlantic Ocean, especially at times when ocean currents were upwelling nutrient-rich water in from other regions. Coastal regions were a gathering hub for many ideal prey items, such as small whales, dolphins, semi-aquatic mammals, and large numbers of fish, meaning that Megalodon spent much of its time around coastlines and their many environments. Young sharks would have also frequented brackish, estuarine waters, swampy lagoons, and water rich in plant life where many herbivores dwelled. To spot the largest of the large, however, you would need to travel a little further out into the deeper, darker sections of the world's oceans. While Megalodon was never a common resident of extremely deep waters, fully grown adults were suited to a life out at sea, where they could track down and hunt large baleen whales and other sharks. These sharks did not appear to have stayed in the same waters or territories for a fixed period of time, and rather preferred to traverse the oceans far and wide throughout their lives, searching for food wherever it might have been. As Megalodon inhabited many different regions and lived in those regions for upwards of 20 million years, one single environment cannot be pinned down and described in detail. Rather, we can look at several animals that shared the seas with, competed with, and were hunted by this colossal shark throughout the course of its time on Earth. We mentioned earlier that Megalodon was not the only apex predator in every environment it lived in, and that in some locales it would have faced heavy competition. That competition would have come in the form of a huge macropredatorial sperm whale, known as Leviathan melvilli, named respectively after the biblical Leviathan and Herman Melville, the author of Moby Dick. The name might give you an indication of the kind of animal this was. Capable of growing up to 17 meters long from nose to tail, Leviathan heavily contested the ruler of the oceans title with Megalodon and inhabited many of the same oceans. Like Megalodon, it was suited to hunting baleen whales, which it did with deeply rooted, robust teeth. Elsewhere, Megalodon had to contend with Orcanis cetoniensis, a fossil relative of the killer whale. Theorized to potentially be a calculating pack predator like modern orcas, these cetaceans may have been capable of bringing down whales much larger than themselves. This abundance of mammalian apex predators may also have contributed to Megalodon's eventual disappearance from our oceans. Whales had already begun to establish themselves as the new rulers of the ocean in the Eocene period, long before Megalodon first appeared on the scene. So it is somewhat unusual to see a Pliocene predator in this size so late in the Cenozoic era. By the Miocene, whales had reached the peak of their diversification, evolving into many different toothed and baleen forms. While the abundance of whales is what ultimately allowed Megalodon to evolve, it is not surprising that it faced so much competition when animals such as Leviathan evolved later into the animal's time on Earth. This, combined with the fact that the cooling oceans began to cause many species of whale Megalodon relied upon for food to go extinct too, spelled the end for this giant shark. Elsewhere, Megalodon would have encountered an array of much more unusual creatures. Younger Megalodon living along the South American coastlines are thought to have fed on a particularly unique species of whale, Odobenocetops peruvianus, a manatee-like cetacean with two backwards-facing tusks, one short one and one roughly a third of the length of its body. This would have allowed the whale to live a life remarkably like a modern-day walrus, as it combed the sea floor for shellfish and invertebrates. Further north, along the coastlines of what would one day become California, Megalodon may have preyed upon Pontolis magnus, a huge species of early walrus with diminutive tusks. These very same waters would have contained and supported a multitude of bizarre toothed whales, giant fish, and large seabirds. In recent years, Megalodon has been the subject of misleading pseudoscientific debate, fueled both by the rise of cryptozoology forums on the internet and the shark's appearance in popular culture. Theories without substance or support state that Megalodon may still live in the depths of the world's darkest oceans, where it has managed to evade extinction and carry on throughout the Pleistocene and into the modern times. There are plenty of reasons why this is not true, primarily due to the fact that this was a species of shark adapted to hunting whales in coastal and surface waters, not the darkest depths of the ocean's trenches. It became extinct just over 3 million years ago, which would not be anywhere near enough time for it to adapt to the darkness and pressure of the freezing deep oceans, especially given the fact that this is a shark that became extinct due to the falling temperatures in the waters where it lived. On top of this, you might also have noticed the obvious fact: there is no footage, physical evidence, or trace evidence of Megalodon living anywhere beyond the Pliocene epoch. No recent teeth have ever washed ashore, no Megalodon corpses have appeared in shallow waters, and historical peoples have never mentioned the shark continuing to persist in the waters. There is no submersible footage of the shark, and divers have never encountered one. Megalodon was a shark that was adapted to hunting whales and dolphins, and there are simply not enough of them in the deep seas to sustain one in the modern day. There simply would be evidence. Megalodon has also appeared as the inspiration for several works of media over the years since its initial discovery, and this does not at all seem to be slowing down. The best example of this in recent years is the 2018 feature film The Meg and its sequel, based on the 1997 novel Meg, a novel of deep terror by Steve Alten. The film sees Jason Statham go head-to-head with a monstrously oversized megalodon that has risen from the depths of the ocean. It grossed over $500 million, but received mixed reviews. Unfortunately, the shark has also been the subject of many documentaries that typically discuss the possibility that the shark may still be alive in the oceans. Megalodon, the monster shark lives, Megalodon, the new evidence, and Shark of Darkness, Wrath of Submarine from the Discovery Channel have all contributed to the falsehood. Following the airing of these documentaries, the Discovery Channel posted a poll online in which they asked their social media followers whether or not they believed Megalodon still existed in the deep seas. Worryingly, 73% of users believed that the shark is indeed still alive. On a lighter note, certain remains of the giant shark have found a resting place in the safety of natural history museums across the world. Museums in the UK, the USA, and Australia all hold megalodon teeth as part of exhibitions on the natural history of the oceans, where they strive to educate the public about the life and times of one of the ocean's greatest predators. Several aquariums in the United Kingdom and beyond also feature life-size reconstructions of the jaws of Megalodon, typically accompanied by plaques or informational signs that describe the animal in life. Paleoartists do an excellent job of bringing the shark to life in all its glory, and a few documentaries have truly done the animal justice. The BBC's Sea Monsters, presented by Nigel Marven, is a key example, in which the shark is shown in CGI hunting in the waters of the Pliocene. Studies on the shark's lifestyle and evolution are ongoing, and new material may well be uncovered in the future, given how common Megalodon's teeth can be in certain parts of the world. Megalodon is one of those animals that has been fictionalized so much by the media and pop culture that it can almost be easy to forget it did indeed really exist. The idea of a predatory shark much larger than a great white is the stuff of Hollywood blockbusters. So it only makes sense for the shark to provide such inspiration for movies and television in the modern day. It's important to remember that at the end of the day, this shark did exist, and is right there for us to discover in fossil form in the modern day. Paleontology is just as fascinating as the fantastic tales of cryptozoology, and is indeed a valid school of science. With any luck, more will soon be revealed about this real-life leviathan of the ancient oceans.